and get ready to jump into it. We're in our last round of Swiss of day number 1, and it's game 1 here at YCS Los Angeles, the 250th YCS. But now Kenny is on a Melfi Sprite kind of deck. Kenny, I believe, has been playing Sprite for some time. I believe he used this deck even throughout this past format where Tier Elements was so dominating. He was always on a Bestial Sprite strategy, so he's definitely an expert when it comes to the Sprite cards.
We got 7.
Once you see a 1, that's the best you can really hope for. And Snake Eyes coming down for Kenny.
That's the second Snake Eyes we've seen today, and it didn't go well for the first one. I believe that was our Fluanderies duelist.
Oh, geez, don't remind me. Yeah, that was rough. He had more level 1s on his dice than he did in his hand any of those games.
That was the issue here. Lack of level 1s.
All right, looks like Jonah is going to start things off. No Kashtir monsters coming down. He'd won the die roll, so not the ones on his side, but definitely unlucky start here from Jonah as he sets one and passes. Now, one of the best parts about Sprite is how consistent it usually is. Just being able to get a level 2 monster on the field can really get all your strategy online immediately. So we'll see if he has a way to do that.
He's not exactly slamming this card on the table. A little bit of reticence, and he puts it back in the hand before deciding, you know what, nope, we're running it out there. It's Sprite Red.
Yep, leads with the red. Special summon Sprite Jet. That's going to let him add a Sprite spell or a trap from the deck to the hand.
And considering now, it seems, on Sprite Jet.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm just thinking of this.
This is a little tough. If you do have a negation here, it better be something that actually gets rid of the monster. But even then, you're leaving your opponent with another level 2 up. And it is. It's Solemn Strike. It's going to keep the starter out of hand. It's going to take Jet off the field, and we'll see if Kenny has another Sprite monster to throw down.
Yeah, Solemn Strike, one of the best counter traps in the game. Not one we've seen too recently, but strong enough here to cut Kenny off to make him just go to battle phase, attack with 1,000. Really showing the power of trap cards like Solemn Strike. You mentioned having an effect negation that also gets the monster off the field. Huge.
And this is why we've been seeing things like Emergency Teleport and Sprite for the last couple rounds. I think adding the teleport along with Cypher and Gamma is just huge.
Oh, yeah, just having more ways to extend definitely is really, really powerful. But now Jonah has a chance to draw something else. Decides to set a spell and trap card zone in the same zone as Kenny. Maybe you have to guess it's something like Infinite Impermanence.
You at least got to be trying to get Kenny to think that it's Infinite Impermanence, even if it's not.
Indeed. That's something I love about Yugioh, how it's grown throughout the years, that now the zone placement of all your cards, not only your monsters, but your spells and trap, is directly impactful into the gameplay. I mean, now, just the existence of Mech Knights, I always have to set my cards up in that alternating pattern.
Right? It really started with Reigns. Reigns, we had like a greater emphasis on card placement, starting with Link monsters.
Oh, yeah.
Arrows pointing to it.
Certainly. Now we see a normal summon of Nimble Angler from Kenny. And now he's going to overlay those 2 monsters for a gigantic Sprite and try to use the effect. Does he have another Solemn Strike? It is that Infinite Impermanence. So not a lot of action going on here in the game, but Kenny's definitely in the driver's seat.
Now here's something notable here. He used
going to respond by detaching for Zeus and then chaining the Zeus effect to itself just to get all those materials off.
Yeah, the thing you absolutely can't have is your opponent coming up with their own Zeus with even more materials on it. Attacks for 3,000 here. And then heads into the extra deck.
Oh, so yeah, he does play his own copy of Zeus. So that is definitely a heads-up play by getting those materials off.
And then activates Triple Tactics Thrust. Now he has to set the card here. He can't add it to his hand because of Droll and Lockbird.
But does it still include the effect?
It should, yes.
Yeah, so
it still includes it.
So even though you can't
choose that option,
it's still part of the effect. Now Ash is going to be able to stop it. And Kenny draws and just passes.
Now this one seems to have turned around quite massively.
Wow, the Droll and Lockbird backfiring on Kenny completely. as soon as he activated a monster effect, those cards that have just been sitting like dead weight in Jonah's hand, the triple tactics talent and triple tactics thrust, all of a sudden became live and really opened up that game wide open.
And you get there just because, that solemn strike cut him off of everything, really. He caught him with just that one extra level 2, no more extenders. Strike was enough to end the turn.
Yeah, both players not drawing the best for their strategies independently, but finding ways to try and navigate it. And, the biggest thing is just not getting down on yourself. If you don't see the hand you're looking for, finding a way to plan out a pathway to still have a victory is important. Just because you don't always open up Unicorn doesn't necessarily mean you're going to lose that game. But now going to the side deck, this is where things get a little harder for Kashtira, because you know that cards like Nibiru are going to be going in if they anticipate you going for summoning a lot of monsters, though Jonah didn't have to summon any monsters in that first game, with the exception of the Zeus from the extra deck.
Honestly, he played it like a gadget deck.
Yep.
That's what happened there. He had Solemns, he had one big monster, really powerful spell cards to go with it that take monsters out.
Yeah, that Solemn Strike was really cool. Because, if it was an infinite permanence the first time, you flip those traps around and he had the imperm instead of the strike, he still would have had those 2 level 2s on the field. I love Solemn Strike. It's awesome to see it back in action here at the YCS.
Yeah, I feel like all of the Solemns are pretty well positioned here, depending on which deck you play. Like, Solemn Judgment's good just about everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Solemn Strike's pretty good everywhere as well. And then depending on what sort of things your deck is weak against, for example, if you have a crippling weakness to Denko Second, you might even want Solemn Warning.
Yeah, Solemn Warning can take care of that normal summon quite easily. The Solemn trap cards have always been so strong, and the ultimate Solemn Strike looks so beautiful. After seeing it in Jonah's deck, I definitely want to go out and find some for myself.
Yeah, Warning's nice. Just pay 2,000. You can negate a normal summon. You can negate a special summon of a Kashtira. You could negate a Theosis. There's all sorts of stuff that you could do with it.
Yeah, definitely good against the Kashtira matchup. Also, cards like Floodgate Trap Hole and stuff. Also, it's really cool. Just a lot of these older trap cards are really useful against a brand new strategy that's considered to be one of the better decks in the room.
Yeah, the Trap Tricks deck with Time Space Trap Hole even.
That's another
it
throwback.
Multiple monsters.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Time Space Trap Hole. Now, the cool thing about Jonah's deck is he does play a lot of these trap cards in the main deck, so that means he's going to have easy cards to side out for maybe some going first kind of cards. As powerful as Strike and Solemn Judgment are, a little less useful when you're going second, as they're just going to be sitting in your hands. You got to take the turn to set them, so you can side those out for like some board-breaking cards, like Dark Ruler No More, which is my favorite side deck card against Sprite, because they're putting a lot of monsters on the board. Usually, red Carrot, you're going to be looking down totally awesome, or the Testudo Newman.
Testudo Eret Newman.
Eret Newman. Yep, I remember the Newman part now perfectly, but we'll have to see if Dark Ruler No More is going to be something that Jonah decides to side in. And cards like, Lightning Storm and Evenly Matched, also not too bad. Anything that can really clean up the board.
Evenly Matched has been really big this weekend, even in main decks.
That was a hectic game.
Yep, one of the scariest words in Yu-Gi-Oh now is inner battle phase.
Yep.
Into battle phase. Yep, it is a good one. And now they are ready. They side decked, and we're going to jump right into it. It's game number 2 of our 9th round of Swiss.
Is this going to be the last one, or are we going to have a deciding game 3 here in round 9? Let's find out.
Ooh, Kenny draws Melfi, a Lancia, Solemn Judgment, and a Smashers. You don't want to draw Smashers usually, because that's what you just want to grab from Jet, and just a setbacker from Kenny going first. It's not been good for the player who got to go first. Maybe those Snake Eyes were an omen.
Could be. It happened to our Flaunderies player.
Jonah leads off with Kashtira Fenrir.
And he's already deep in the tank, like,
Oh, no.
I have to. And that's the thing. Like, if he's got the Birth, or if he's got Unicorn,
or-
that's just game.
Yep, another Fenrir. Does he have anything else? Yep, this is going to add the Kashtira, so you can get Rise Heart. He's going to grab Unicorn. Is it Birth? It's Birth. This is it. It's over. Kenny... Yeah, that's it. Kenny paid half his life in Solemn Judgment, and Jonah just summons 2 giant monsters and attacks her game.
That's,
A rough end to...
It's not the first one of those we had, but it's been Snake Eyes.
I was going to say, note to self, do not roll Snake Eyes.
No